and stuff like that. So in my systems, I do have some places where I guarantee order for everything, where instead of like ticking objects using their systems, I tick it myself. But it's pretty much how it works. It's like, yeah, there's an update function, and there's an onCreate, there's an onDestroy, begin and end play, things like that. Alright, so what's going on here is we want to support a few things, but we don't want to support roll. I think that's what's going on, is no rotation about the x-axis. So now we can rotate like this. No, that's not correct at all. I guess it's pitch we don't want to support. Well, let's think about this for a second. Yeah, the only thing we actually needed to do to support the motion here was get our extents hooked up properly. So now our extents are properly rotated, and we're good to go there. Anyway, I think that's enough for that sort of stuff. for supporting the rotations, because we're not going to have waterfalls at any other crazy rotation. Yeah, it's just going to look sort of like that, which is what we want. So that's starting to look pretty cool. You know, we got the nice little reflection on the top of the waterfall and everything. That's going to look pretty damn good once we throw, you know, particles and crap on top of it. And you know, once this thing looks like actual water instead of just a clear mirror, it'll look a lot nicer. So let's just make sure it's all saved up. Let's see, what do we want to do next? What we've got next on the list is we want to deform the edges of the waterfall. Because we finally got our math proper, we just needed to actually project stuff onto it, and we needed to figure out how to do that, you know. Which was basically me just being an idiot. What's on the menu? Yeah, deform the edges of the waterfall. So what we'd want to do is basically, when we're looking at this waterfall, these edges right here are real clear. And what we want to do is kind of like, if we're looking at this, our edges are wavy and will come down and all that sort of stuff, right? So what we're going to want to do is have that same sort of effect. So we're going to need these kind of waves of stuff to follow our texture down. And the question is, should it compress the entire thing? So like we have our width, right? And that's, you know, the water kind of coming together. And I think we're basically going to want to have the base width be changing based on some noise or something like that. Yeah, undulations and all that in the water as it comes down. And the question is, how exactly do we do that? How do we make it smooth? Because it needs to come down at the exact same speed as this, but it needs to be simple. So it's basically this U value. Well, is it the U value? It's going to be the U value needs to be added to or subtracted from based on some noise. And it's like the min and max of the U value, or is it the U value itself? It's the bounds for the U value. We're changing the waterfall base width. We're changing the width based on something other than our passed in scalar parameter. So, and that's going to be based on the V coordinate. We're going to look up something else. So if we're going to have to think about this. Like, we've got our waterfall noise texture. So we've got our noise texture. We're going to want to look this up. Like maybe noise is kind of what we want. We want to add to this thing. Multiplied by like a roughness sort of thing. And how do we index into this texture? Well, we're going to want to pan at the same speed as the other texture and all that. And let's see, we're changing the base width after it's, alright, so this is going to go from, this is going to be after all this stuff, isn't it? We're subtracting. It's not as straightforward as you would think to apply this effect. I mean, if we just multiplied this thing and added it, you know, like, you know, we've got like this, you know, noise going on the outside, and it's all ugh, and it's, you know, only affecting one side of this thing. Maybe it's something like this, where we add these two values together. Yeah, it would need to. It's a little bit too jaggy. We want it to be, you know, not as ridiculous. This noise texture that we got, you know, is a huge chunk of Perlin noise. It's just massive, right? Like 2048 or whatever. So how do we make it smooth, right? Like we want, I mean, we could average stuff, we could spread it out. We could multiply this by like 0.1 or something. Let's wait for our material to do that. Well, the value that I need here, I need to add to God, I need to have like this value here. Well, let's just see what we can do with it. Just by doing this. Ah! Freaking ridiculous water. Yeah, the waterfall has Parkinson's. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the right way to apply the noise to this thing. Um, it's not as straightforward as I might think it would be, because we've got all these values that'll clamp everything, and this is kind of like, you can see this top left corner is screwed up. Like, we need to have different rules for this. Like, on the left side it needs to add to the U, and on the left side it needs to subtract from the U only, and stuff like that to keep it consistent. It needs to move at the same speed, so usually what you want is a consistent value. You want one value that controls the panning of this thing. So what I want is, like, instead of this panner to do stuff, I want to add manually to this value. Instead of having some sort of offset here, I want to have a better sort of offset value for the speed. So can we get the time? So let's see, this is, the time node is used for the passage of time at a material such as panner, cosine, or other time-dependent functions. Let's turn the water speed way down, right? Like, let's put it at 0.1. And let's make sure that these things match each other. They don't appear to be matching each other. We'd be able to see undulations come down regularly, and this is not. This is just like wavy bullshit, isn't it? Alright, this might pan it. Let's see. This'll move our x coordinate for our noise across, and it should maintain the same speed as the water. But we want to make sure that the whatever speed we have is locked to the same the same b value. So I guess we have to multiply both sides out. And I haven't done a whole bunch of, I'm not a graphics programmer. I don't know what the hell I'm doing most of the time. The edge has not to move at the exact same speed as the purlin. And if you have a clever eye here, you'll see the noise is moving up and the water is moving down, which is not what's supposed to be happening here. And there's a very good reason for that. Because we're supposed to be multiplying by -1. Because that's what we're doing over there. So that's our edge. So let's increase our water speed a little bit. By a lot. And that's definitely starting to look better, doesn't it? Excellent. So let's take a look at our noise texture real quick. It's going to be a value from 0 to 1, so we're always adding to it, right? We're not going to be subtracting. Like this goes, black is 0, white is 1. So what we want to do is we want to subtract 0.5. So that'll take us from 0 to 1 to minus 0.5 to 0.5. So we should see stuff looking a little bit better here. That's why we were always adding all the way over there. Alright, cool. So why don't we just parameterize this thing up and then play with it. So this is going to be noise resolution. This is going to be edge roughness. And then we're also going to have another thing in here which will be like noise multiplier. So like noise speed multiplier, which will be like, the difference between I'm not sure what you're saying there with direction movement work or something. I assume you're saying something, but I'm not really understanding it too well. Alright, so what are our parameters? There's noise speed multiplier. Yeah, we'll be able to play with, you know, these numbers to much faster when we blueprint it up. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, let me I just need to write these down real quick. So noise speed multiplier, noise resolution, and the edge roughness. Alright, so let's go add all this stuff. This one helps having lots of monitors. Alright, this is the... Use this to control how fast the noise moves compared to the water speed. And we're going to slider range this from maybe like 0.5. Well, I guess it could start at 0 and go to like 2. And we'll have a default 1. Noise resolution. It's like 0.01 was the default. So let's have a 0 versus maybe a 0.1 or yeah, we'll just do 0.1. And edge roughness, why don't we have it from 0 to 0.5, and we'll have it default at 0.1. Alright, so noise resolution this is how smooth the noise is. I guess I should, for the edge. For the edge. And this is how large the effect of the edge movement is. Alright, so let's set up these variables then. Alright, so set scalar parameters. And I want the noise speed multiplier. The noise resolution. And edge roughness. And edge roughness, I guess, is not really a very good name for this, is it? But whatever. We could call it edginess. So let's see, let's apply this. See what this looks like in the real world. In the real fake world, I mean. Alright, so we can change our noise speed. So our noise is moving at a different speed. We can change our edge roughness to a very large amount. We can also change our noise resolution. So our waterfall is just all sorts of screwed up. Or we can I feel like I'm missing a little bit on this. I think there needs to be some sort of minimum value for us to actually start applying noise or something like that, right? So like it should, yeah, we should basically like start noise after it's fallen just a little bit, something like that, you know? Because this, I don't like how it changes the top of the waterfall. Like the top of the waterfall should always be the same, right? And then we should lerp in the noise after a certain minimum, right? That's what I'm thinking. So we need a little bit more for this value. So we're gonna need like the like min edge min height and edge. And I'm getting some crazy. Let's turn off that live preview. My computer's not liking compiling all this crap. Alright, so edge min height, edge max effect. Well, we're gonna want like a transition. Edge transition %. Alright, so we're gonna want to have a linearly interpolate between 0 and 1 based on, alright, well, I don't think I'm gonna model, you know, the entire waterfall breaking into sub waterfalls and crap like that. That would be a lot different. Like at that point, you'd throw like a, you know, you'd want particles and stuff like that in there. I mean, it's not a bad idea. It's a great idea. It would look really cool, but I don't think I'm gonna do it. Alright, so what's a good way to put this together? If it's less than a minimum, if the y value here is greater than edge min height, so if we're less than min height, then this is 0, and we're going to lerp this value here from 0 to 1 based on current value Alright, so if we're greater than min height, what we want to do is we want to take this value and we want to subtract this value. Yeah, we're going to subtract this thing and then divide by another subtraction, which is going to be this one minus this one. And so the y value is, yeah, we'll divide that guy by that, and if this is greater than, we do this. We clamp it from 0 to 1. Edge min height is going to be like, let's just say 0.5. And edge transition percent is like 0.25. So let's see what that looks like. One level solely composed of gigantic conglomerations of waterfalls. I think Adam's got some concept art stuff that looks like that. But I don't know if we will do something like that or not. So let's see if this works. So it should go from 0 to 1. So... see if we can preview this a little bit. Is this just black? Alright, so that is... that value. Alright, so B is edge min height. This is always 0? Oh, yeah, here we go. This should go from 0 to 1, and it should take 25% of the way to do that. So alright, so this is going to be the V minus 0.5 divided by 0.25. Divide by 0.25? Like, it should be less than 1. But this doesn't look right. This does not look right at all. Like, that should go from 0 to 1. And I guess maybe my eyes are just not as good as... We don't need to linearly interpolate anything here, I don't think. Have you seen the nice waterfall talk from developer of Rime? No, I have not. Yeah, you can see them. They're very light coming down there. But they're there. Yeah, it looks like it's doing what it should. Yeah, hello, Anton Kuhn. From the developer of Rime. I don't think I've seen that game. Let me see. So apparently they have a whole talk on real-time visual effects. And this guy going over how they made everything. Kind of like right here with all this. Water to foam transition. Ah, cool. So current waterfall with some tape around. Water breaks up. Foam spray. I mean, I would assume basically this is a math function transition between your nice waterfall thing, and then you add in these pockets, and it's just like a big sprite transparency thing. But there's a lot of other effects. You could either layer them together or make it as a single thing. But like it's real easy to like trivialize stuff like this when you actually see it. But it takes a lot of like to even know those are the parts to put together, right? It's like Jesus Christ. Real pain in the ass to figure it out. Looks like a 3D mesh that they've got, like a big, it's like a cone almost coming down, and then you can see it's transparent in the middle and all that. And these are I'd have to look at it more specifically. But it looks like, you'd have a combination. Like they've got maybe it's a combination of two meshes actually. Or maybe that's just vertex or pixel displacement. Because you could do it with pixel displacement stuff. It's just the shape of the water and the shape of the foam is all different. And usually that implies geometry. Several meshes. Yeah, that's one way. It would be nicer if it wasn't several meshes, because you can kind of see the outlines of where the meshes are. Like there's obviously some sort of geometric surface here and all that, and it'd be nice if we didn't have that. I really like the ripples though, those are really cool on the water. I don't know, those guys obviously spent a hell of a lot longer than I have on waterfall technologies. And cool, we've got our transition percentages and all that stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and parameterize these guys and slap them in there, so we'll be able to break it up based on that height and transition from, fully noisy to not noisy at a specific percentage height of the waterfall. Layered skirts? Yeah, that's what it looks like. And And yeah, that's kind of the issue that I would see here is there's world displacement. And we have pixel depth offsets, but what you'd really want would be like, you know, you're inside of the pixel shader here. It'd be nice if you could have a whole bunch of crazy stuff going on there to really get this cool. Yeah, I usually, whenever you start using particles instead of like math functions and crap like that, yeah, the other thing we'd want to see if we could cut holes out of this thing based on, you know, noise and all the rest. That would be another cool thing to kind of have. But I'm not going to try to spend 2 million years on this thing. I'm going to, you know, get it to a good spot, and then we'll find out what we need later, because our game is not like just about waterfalls and shit like that, so I shouldn't spend 2 million years on it. Just 1 million years, right? Alright, so edge min height and edge transition percent. Alright, so I need 2 more. Duplicate. Purely laminar? I'm not sure what you mean by laminar. Constant flowing streams, not turbulent? Yeah. Yeah, it's just a simple waterfall. It's not some it's not a, you know, this thing is not freaking the hell out. This one might be a bit more, but I think a lot of the stuff is calm. You know, like I think that was the first thing I talked about with this picture is, if this was in the real world, you know, this water would be going like hell, and this place would be incredibly noisy and just like, this would not be a place to relax. This would be a place to get the hell out of. You know, you'd be like, God, you know, my ears, it sucks. You know, incredibly noisy. There'd be water everywhere. You just no, get me out of this place. But you know, in this picture, it's like, oh, nice and relaxing. Just like